Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about another so-called ma'am getting another innocent business in hot water with the press and the public. Previously, the whole "it's ma'am" meme came from a story that happened last winter. On December 28th, 2018, a video began circulating of a confrontation that occurred at a New Mexico GameStop store in which a so-called woman threatened an employee and demanded to be called ma'am, claiming that the employee used an incorrect gender term. The video of this confrontation immediately began to spread like wildfire on the internet, many even repeating the now infamous quote, "It's ma'am," a line which this disgruntled customer screamed out loud repeatedly, "It's ma'am, it's ma'am," followed by more yelling, and then they eventually ran out of the store, possibly even knocking over some stuff on their way out, throwing a little temper tantrum. And since then, "It's ma'am" has gone on to become a viral sensation too, not only being laughed at and ridiculed by the public at large for acting so crazy, but also this ma'am even went on to try and create some kind of rap music career online. Not kidding. And this whole ma'am situation also became representative of a greater problem and trend. These kinds of women are becoming known for their public meltdowns and for going off the rails and getting unhinged about things constantly in order to gain attention for themselves. Also, these ma'ams love attacking and condemning public places and stores if they don't agree to strictly adhere to their fringe lifestyle in every way possible that they demand. That finally brings us to today's news story. This week, another ma'am is going after another store. But unlike the GameStop story where the ma'am customer was just mad because the store was being slow and someone accidentally called them sir, well, this news story gets much weirder and more ridiculous than that. An article with more details about it comes from the Washington Examiner. It's called "Salon Forced to Close After Refusing to Wax Transgender Woman's Male Genitalia." Wow, just wow. So now if you don't give a person's twig and berries a good old Brazilian waxing, you're equivalent to being some kind of transphobic, offensive bigot or something. That's pretty rich. And I'm pretty sure if you really wanted that stuff waxed, you could find an official male waxing expert out there who will do it. Doesn't make sense going to a female-focused salon asking for a traditionally male service anyway. That's like going to a dentist and asking them to fix your broken legs, or asking a dog trainer to teach your kids how to behave better. That actually happened on an episode of South Park. Cartman was falling for the canine training too, but that's besides the point. It is worth bringing that up though, since this news story today does seem like it's straight out of a South Park episode. Already this premise here is out of control, and I can only imagine where this new ma'am will take it from here. Let's go ahead and read on into this story then, and see where this thing goes. A Canadian small business owner was forced to close her home-based beauty salon after refusing to provide a Brazilian wax for a transgender woman's male genitalia. Marcia De Silva received a response about the opening of her new salon from Jessica Yanni, a transgender activist, after previously only have provided services to family and friends. They initially agreed to an appointment via text message, and Yaniv claimed that De Silva canceled the session after she sent her a photo and identified as a transgender woman. Yaniv filed over a dozen complaints with a British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal, claiming she was discriminated against. "You cannot choose who your clientele is going to be," Yaniv said while speaking in front of the tribunal. The LGBT activist has demanded monetary compensation and condemned De Silva's decision not to wax her genitalia as neo-Nazism. Yikes. This is actually worse than I even thought. I was only joking when I said this ma'am wanted a Brazilian wax on her male nuts, but that's actually what's happened according to this story. And to make matters even worse, this is just a small, home-operated, up-and-coming salon, which was only beginning to open up and get some traction out in public. Then this ma'am caught wind of it, and since it appears she was trolling around looking for trouble, trying to get offended at this point, it was only a matter of time before a salon refused to serve them. And then they had an excuse to go on this rant and rave and push their pro-SJW agenda to the public once again. I mean, this ma'am filed over a dozen complaints, even speaking in front of a public tribunal over this. That's some real devotion to her cause. Never mind this act is disenfranchising an innocent, seemingly minority woman. I guess trans people take priority over women and minorities, at least in the eyes of this new ma'am lady, who apparently wants to force salon employees to wax her balls and shaft, or else. I mean, do you really want someone handling your privates like that when they don't want to and they don't know how? I know I don't. And this all sounds incredibly gross and kind of creepy when I think about it more. Also, this ma'am must have had a lot of time on their hands too, writing all these complaints out and going to the tribunal and speaking and everything. Don't they have a job or something? I wonder who's really backing this kind of person's cause. Next, the article goes over this tweet coming from the ma'am, also known as Jessica Yanov. It says, "This is not about waxing. It is about businesses and individuals using their religion and culture culture to refuse service to protected groups because they don't agree with it or the person, and use that to illegally discriminate contrary to the BC Human Rights Code and the CHRC. BC, of course, standing for British Columbia, a section of what country? That's right. Oh, Canada. I guess we really shouldn't be surprised this kind of SJW bullshit is coming out of you at this point. But that's not the only thing wrong with this tweet. It's also completely off base right down to the core. Firstly, this is about waxing, even though it says it's not. And it's actually not about religion and culture, as far as I know and according to what's being presented here. The real reason the salon wouldn't wax this ma'am is because they don't wax those kinds of body parts. It's pretty common for salons to just do Brazilian waxes on female clients. Typically, if you want to be waxed and you're a guy or have guy parts, you need to see a male specialist for that. So sure, this ma'am could go on and on about being a woman and all their friends and family could go along with that too, but that talk's not going to change what's between their legs. Words won't change biology. Now, there are of course other more medical options, such as a sexual reassignment surgery. Not that I would recommend that, but if you want to get Brazilian waxes done for women's private parts, you might want to at least try having those parts yourself. Now, I hate to bore you with analogies once again, but they're just so fun and relevant here, I think I have to. This is basically equivalent to a guy going into a women's clinic and asking for a breast exam, or someone who's balding going into a barber shop asking for a haircut and a permanent. Just think about it. Would it make sense if you took your bicycle in to get repaired by going to an auto mechanic? Because I don't think so. But in this messed up SJW run world the Canadians are living in, that's the kind of BS the BC is dealing with in 2019. CYE, current year. I don't know what the E's for. Never mind. Next, let's expand on this protected groups line of this tweet for another minute, because I think that part's more telling than it seems. Clearly, this ma'am here thinks they are in a protected group, which also means they think they should get special treatment, perhaps putting them above other people. Kind of entitled and elitist if you think about it, and this goes completely contrary to the whole idea of multiculturalism, acceptance, and pro-LGBTQ stuff, at least in theory and in the way those terms are meant to be used by reasonable people. Really, if you were to make an actually decent and honest argument supporting these kinds of minority groups, I could do it pretty easily right here for you. You could say something like, perhaps they need a little more attention and support, because in some cases, life can be different and sometimes harder for you if you're a minority or an LGBTQ person in a developed Western country. Now, I would never take it much further than that, like how SJWs would say everyone is still racist and transphobic and anti-gay people or whatever. I don't think all these minorities are repressed, not even close, but there still are, admittedly, some problems and issues for them, I'm sure, especially for people like this ma'am, who have to struggle with gender identity issues on a daily basis. So yeah, with that said, I would never want to be seen as being against helping these kinds of people and getting them to the point where they are accepted and fit in like everyone else. But that's where problems arise, actually. You see, these people, especially the activist types like this new ma'am, Jessica Yanov, well, they don't want to just be accepted and to fit in, and they don't want to be treated like everyone else. They actually, in fact, want to have special treatment, and they think they are now protected and above everyone else. And this totally breaks down the whole argument I just laid out before, which actually is the real basis for all this pro-minority, gay pride, and trans acceptance stuff. And that all seems rather dishonest too, when you see people like Jessica Yanov declaring that they're a protected group who deserves special treatment above everyone else. And that special treatment, of course, being the request that she's making of this newly opened salon, a request which, once they refused, this ma'am here went on a giant tear publicly, doing everything they could to get them closed down. De Silva said her refusal to wax Yanov's genitalia was because of safety concerns raised by her husband, alleged harassment on Yanov's part, and discomfort carrying out a Brazilian wax on male genitalia. Jay Cameron, a lawyer with the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, is representing De Silva at the tribunal. Some of my clients have been very significantly affected on a personal level. Another client also closed their business. She has been depressed, anxious, sleepless, and that has gone on for a period of many months, said Cameron. It is a very serious thing to launch a human rights complaint against a person. My clients are people. They have a right to make a living, and this has interfered with their livelihood. But also, you have the stigma of being associated with this hanging over you. Wow, pretty messed up. And again, this shows the hierarchy of classes within the SJW caste system. Apparently, ma'am rights are above immigrant and minority rights, and women's too, because they're all too happy to try and shut down people like De Silva and others like her, as long as that means their own trans and LGBT causes get more attention. And while this story and angle here is obviously trying to draw upon the whole bake the cake controversy, a story from a few years back, well, this is really a much different case and a much different beast if you think about it. Bake Bake the cake was when the SJWs went after a famous cake maker who refused to bake a cake for a gay wedding due to personal reasons. That situation was more based on the store owner being personally against the cause that was asking for his service. But even so, in that situation, store owners do still have a right to refuse service. They don't have to work or bake or serve or wax each and every person that asks them to. So with that said, this Canadian salon has even more than that on their side because their reasoning not to do this isn't even personally related. If it was, it would be okay too, but it really wasn't. The real issue is they don't provide the service that was asked for. And as they said, if they tried, it could have even been dangerous and unsafe. And I know I wouldn't want anything dangerous or unsafe going on around down there below the belt. And I certainly wouldn't want someone with zero experience waxing my junk down there either. Regardless, this new ma'am, Jessica Yanov, they were asking for all that despite all the things wrong with it. And then when they didn't get their way, surprise, surprise, they turned to the public to try and get attention and sympathy points. This is probably why this ma'am was even asking businesses for services like this in the first place. They were going around asking places for services they don't provide so they could spin it into a pity piece, getting attention and PayPal shekels for them later on. Shit, while we're at it, let's just say it. Jessica Yanov here probably became a ma'am just so they could get this attention and special treatment in the first place. It's pretty obvious they're expecting to be in this so-called protected group where they get treated as if they're above and better than everyone else. What do you guys think? Should these salon workers in Canada be forced to wax ma'ams like this? Was this SJW ma'am activist right to push their complaint so far like this that the salon had to close down? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.